So, what is wet? The definition of wet can vary on the context. Wet is usually used as a compliment,
but from time to time it can be seen as an insult.
Wet is also a type of dinosaur. Wet isn't just a word, it's a way of life. This is an example of wet in Minecraft. This is wet, as said by Google Translate.
Wet, 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 wet.
This is wet in several different languages. Here's my friend Max saying wet.
Wet, 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 wet.
This is a crab getting wet.
Remember kids, to work out the wet you have to times the opacity by the density and then divide it by the volume.
Antonyms and synonyms of wet.
Dank, muddy, soaked, drizzling, damp and moist. Dry, clear, arid and dehydrated.
And now, for everyone's favorite game, how wet can you get?
I can pour over 600 milliliters of wet on my head. How much can you pour?
These are some properties of wet. Wet has no feelings. Wet isn't something you digest. The angles of wet always add up to 69 degrees. Wet is a good conductor of heat. Wet is high in potassium. Wet isn't on the periodic table because it's just too cool for scientists. This is a clownfish deep down in the wet.
Have you always wanted to get your friends soaked? Have you ever dreamt of getting your friends dripping wet? Well then this product is for you. The all-new Rubbery Duck Wet Gun. For a whopping price of only wet. Don't miss this one-time offer. Do you know what this is? It's a bottle of wet!
If you learned a lot about wet, then make sure to subscribe. And if you want to see a cool movie about fish and crabs, check out my friend's channel.
In today's episode, we're going to be playing Cops and Robbers.